Welcome, Summoners, to Games Cast by PanderNyrl. If you wish to see more commented games, follow my social media pages below. Okay, looks like we are into Gambit Gaming versus MYM Makers in one of the final games of the Group A series. You see Kha'Zix picked up immediate by Gambit Gaming, while Nidalee is hovered around for MYM Makers. The bans were Lisa, Misfortune, and Evelyn, along with Wukong, Kale, and Elise. Just not wanting that Wukong-Kale combo, because Wukong is incredibly powerful. His ultimate is just ridiculously insane, and he synergizes so well with all these heavy AD comps, as he has it. I believe it's a 30% armor shred on his Q from level 1. Looks like we do have Kha'Zix, and I'm not sure if MYM Makers can go here. Nidalee perfectly fine, Shen as well. But they're waiting for the last second, and they do pick up Shen and Jayce. A very solid combo. And I do like the Shen pick. The ability to just cover your team's mistakes with his ultimate or set up fights is just ridiculously good with Shen. And being able to cover your team's rear has been invaluable this tournament, as there's been a lot of little mistakes where fights where an additional 100 health would mean the difference between a win and a loss. And Shen can easily do that with his ultimate, especially if he goes in the jungle, which I think he will, considering that Jayce has already been picked. And it looks like Gambit Gaming is not going to be showing us what they're going to pick, though that Ezreal is very likely, as he's an incredibly safe pick. Though I don't think Tristana is going to be used unless they're really feeling confident with an AP Tristana. Though with Kha'Zix already on the board, I don't think that's likely. Sona much more likely, as she does have a really strong amount of poke when combined with Ezreals. They can easily just poke from a distance and absolutely dominate a lane. Looks like that is where they decide to lock in. And Gambit Gaming is looking pretty good here with a very solid lineup. Kha'Zix able to burst down someone in the background while Sona and Ezreal poke and get someone low. MYM Makers are likely going to be able to pick up their support and AD carry here. I don't see any real reason to pick up a mid laner yet, as they aren't sure whether Kha'Zix is going top or mid. I suspect he's going mid, or even down bottom in a 2v1 lane, as we did see that come out earlier in the tournament. I think it's best that they just pick up their dual lane and leave the mid lane open for question, as it could be a Jayce mid lane, could be Shen mid lane, could be any combination thereof. And it's just a good choice. Though Olaf picked, I'm surprised Olaf actually went this far. And Olaf Sivir, I can get behind that. That means Jayce is likely going mid, Shen in the jungle, or top, Olaf taking the jungle or top lane depending. But I'm kind of surprised he went this far. Olaf's been an absolute wrecking ball in pretty much every single game so far. And even if he didn't win the game, which I don't remember if he's won all of them, but I think he's at least made a major impact in every single game, and has almost single-handedly carried several of them. Sivir also a very nice pickup, as her ultimate synergizes with all these heavy attack speed champions. As Jayce gets good at needs the additional attack speed, Olaf needs the additional attack speed, and if she pops that, the additional move speed and attack speed is going to be a real mess of a team fight, and I'm not sure what Gambit's going to be able to do about it. And it looks like they're hovering around Renekton and Zhao, a decent composition, but the Renekton I'm just not sure is going to be able to stand Olaf. Renekton just does not have the damage to keep up with Olaf. The stun is not good enough, and he does not have the healing power. It's like MYM Makers will likely need a support here, unless it's a support of Jayce or Shen, but I doubt that. Something like a Lulu would make a really good choice here, but they can go for basically anything. I'm not sure what support they want to go with, but I do think it will likely be a Lulu, because that's been standard. Nunu would also be a nice choice here. Nunu Sivir for some ridiculous attack speed buffs. That ultimate from Sivir plus Nunu is going to be really amazing. And I definitely have to give it to MYM Makers at Champ Select, but we'll see how the game goes. It looks like Gambit Gaming has a lot of physical damage coming out. And it's really going to come down to, can Kha'Zix assassinate this Sivir? That's really going to be the big question, because if Sivir is alive in these fights, she is going to do so much damage. It's ridiculous. But if she gets taken out by Kha'Zix or possibly Zhao jumping in, I'm not sure MYM Makers has enough damage elsewhere to really compensate for it. The Shen and Olaf don't do great damage, but they do decent damage. While Jayce is more of a poke champion. While he sits back, pokes, gets everyone to right around about 60% health before the fight even starts, and then his team can really capitalize on it. Okay, looks like the game is underway. And we are going to see Renekton taking a much more defensive start than he did last time, starting with a cloth armor and a bunch of potions, while Jayce is starting with just a bunch of potions. Looks like Jayce, there is going to be a lane swap, as Sivir is running up top. Nunu going to be placing a ward at the blue buff, and they're going to go into a 2v1 lane. 2v1 lanes have not worked out well this tournament, as they've always seemed to kind of backfire, especially during that early game if the jungler can get a gank off. And I think Gambit's going to realize they're in a bit of trouble up top with Renekton. But they could decide to keep it standard, as Jayce has moved up top, but I do think it will be a bit of a lane swap. Jayce can just sit down bottom, farm all game long, and defend a tower much better than Renekton can. Renekton just not a very good 2v1 laner. And I think they're going to try and move forward, just get into that top brush. And if they can do that, they can easily pick off Renekton if he tries to come top through the river. Looks like Jayce has also picked up teleport, so he can roam around the map. And I think that'll be a great way to counteract any ganks that Zhao does try to bring out. Zhao is a pretty solid ganker, but he's going to have to think twice about it, especially when Jayce has teleport available. We are going to see nothing much happening, as Olaf's going to likely take these wolves in addition to the blue buff. Looks like the red team is going to be pressuring this blue buff, as Zhao will be forced back. And if he doesn't get blue buff, he's not going to have a very good time jungling, as the cooldown reduction means he is infinitely faster. But they do spot this 2v1 lane out, and Sona is immediately running over to blue buff and throwing down the ward. Zhao will be trying to go pick it up, but he is spotted out thanks to a ward. And it will mean Olaf is in a lot of trouble, but he will try and do his best to just harass this Sona down. Same thing with Zhao, as they're going to be fairly low, and if he can keep them from really fighting, it's going to work pretty well. And it looks like we are going to have Sivir up top alone versus Renekton, while we have Shen and Jayce running through the mid lane, and I'm not sure what the lanes are going to look like, but it looks like they are going to kind of standardize out, with Jayce sitting in the mid lane, Olaf down bottom. Even though Olaf is going to get zoned out very hard this game, because he did not pick up much in terms of CS, though those wolves will help him hit level 2 fairly quickly from just a bit of experience and pushing. But this Sivir Nunu should be able to push down this tower very fast. Looks like Zhao has burned through most of his potions at this point and is going to need to go back, as that Olaf did a good job of just harassing him down. And both sides are just going to go for the tower rush. Renekton getting a little bit more experience than Olaf, thanks to just being in lane a bit longer, but that's a lot of minions sitting there, and Olaf should be just fine throwing his axes out, as Olaf does hit 2 slightly before Renekton. Shen coming up top, but Zhao will be in the area. It just depends if they're actually going to dive Renekton here. I think they're going to. It's been fairly standard all tournament long. Support's going to hit him in a moment. There's the Ice Blast. Taunt. Boomerang. Dead. MYM Makers has done that very well. That's perfectly executed how you do a 2v1 lane. There is nothing that top laner can do at that point outside of just run away and give up the tower. But no top laners said that. The tower goes down anyways. They need to just back up, give away the tower, and try and gank the bottom lane. But that's the top tower down for MYM Makers, and they are in a very good spot at this point in time. The bottom lane is not likely to go down anytime soon, as Olaf is just going to continue to chuck axes and keep that lane just barely safe. Renekton is coming back top as they do try and get on Sivir, but minions will not actually be able to finish the tower just yet. It has 4 hit points, and I think they will just go for it in a few moments. Though it looks like they are going to be waiting out here for someone to try and rotate down mid, but I don't think it's going to happen. It looks like Sivir Nunu will be forced back up top, where they should have actually just finished off the tower. Even if it was a little risky, it was a 3v2 at worst. But that means that bottom lane of Ezreal Sona is going to do a lot more damage to that bottom tower. We can take a look at it as it is fairly low, and I think it will go down before Nunu and Sivir get down there. But there's Shen up top, and they're easily going to be able to finish off this Renekton if he does decide to stay. And even then, it might not be too late, but he does dash away at the last second. Jayce has decided to teleport down bottom for a gank and keep that bottom tower alive. MYM Maker's in a pretty good spot right now as they're looking to just push another tower down. I don't blame him for this. And they do decide to dive Renekton under the tower as he gets fairly low, but he does get the second dash away. And he is forced back, but that will mean the tower likely to go down. But Zhao is rotating over. But I do think they could beat them 2v3. As MYM Makers is significantly stronger. This bottom tower will be going down in just a moment as the next few creep waves come in. Olaf throws his axe right across, and there is not enough. As we do see the minions getting very low. Jayce coming down bottom, but will be spotted out thanks to a ward. Looks like we are just going to have a 2v2 down bottom with Jayce kind of rotating. It's not been too bad, and Jayce is up pretty heavily on Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix has opted for the Tear of the Goddess. A rather interesting choice for Kha'Zix, as most of them like to build the pure armor pen. Shen has picked up a Giant's Belt, no surprise there, as Giant's Belts have been the item in this tournament, with everyone picking up Sunfire Cape and Warmox. Looks like Sivir has picked up a BF Sword in addition to the Doran's Blade, and we are going to see Ezreal with the Doran's Blade as well. Looks like Jayce is going to do some good damage onto that Ezreal, but he does Arcane Shift away. While Sivir is going to hold mid for a moment, Olaf heading back up top, and he is in a little bit better position than Renekton, as he has completed that Philosopher's Stone and is just doing a ton of damage. Renekton just not able to stay and fight. So the missed action from Olaf means that Renekton likely to get away, as it does flash away at the last second. But still, this Renekton not having a good game. While Olaf is not in a bad position, he'll be able to easily catch up and farm. But the big difference is there's a tower down, and Olaf has gotten that extra gold. Along with that, Sivir is farming pretty well, though Ezreal is up slightly. And most of the lanes are doing a very good job for MYM Makers, keeping them about even. Though Shen is still fairly far behind, but I don't think it matters as much, as he's just going to build straight tank, go in there, land a taunt, and just soak damage while the massive Sivir is going to deal ridiculous amounts of damage with her attacks. She gets so much free attack and movement speed, it's going to be ridiculous with this team comp. Because she has the Jayce Gate that she can go through, all provides movement speed. Nunu's Blood Ball provides movement speed. It's going to be pretty ridiculous. I expect to see an early Kha'Zix come out, but that could just be me wishing for it, because that would be such a nice item for this team comp from MYM Makers. Gambit Gaming's done a good job to stem the tide, and they're likely to take this bottom tower at any point now. This Ezreal leading the way and farm just behind Jayce, while Kha'Zix is right behind him as well. And it looks like Renekton's just building straight armor at this point. I think that's a pretty good decision, as he just needs to be able to survive in these team fights and soak damage. Renekton is good at soaking damage, and I do think that's what he's going to be able to do. As Nunu does go on our snowball and keeps Ezreal from really doing a whole lot of damage, just one auto attack at a time, not enough to kill that tower. And Zhao does come in, but there's Jayce. Always seem to be in the right position to just keep that bottom lane safe. Olaf has rotated mid lane, and I think they are going to likely try for a dragon at this point, with 5 members of MYM Makers down here. The dragon would be a very good decision. So I'm not sure exactly how well it's going to go, as it will be a 5v5 fight. The problem is top lane is pushing, looks like slightly in the favor of Gambit Gaming, but it's really hard to tell, as it is fairly even in two fairly stacked lanes. Looks like Jayce might get caught out just a little bit, but no, it looks like Renekton is going to be the one that gets caught out, as Shen lands a beautiful taunt. Olaf running in, doing some massive damage on Renekton. As Shen does flash over the wall, Zhao will likely be able to pick up this kill on him, and he just barely does. Olaf still in the area looking to do some good damage, but he gets hit by that isolation proc of Kha'Zix, and it is a real bad thing. Towers have just now been evened up by Gambit Gaming as they take that bottom tower, and gold virtually dead even, as the first blood gold is basically the only difference here. Looks like blue team is going to be heading for tower, or dragon, excuse me, as dragon is getting moderately low, but Zhao is fairly low, Renekton's fairly low, and there's a beautiful Sona crescendo hitting 4, as Shen does come in at the very last second. Sivir ult is popped, but there's just not enough damage coming out of Future Makers, and Gambit Gaming is really going to capitalize on this. Looks like they will actually back up from Dragon, and trading Nunu for not picking up Dragon is a decent trade, but I'm not sure it was worth it at this point in time. Shen's still going to be posturing around the area, just looking to keep them away from actually doing Dragon, even though I do think Gambit Gaming could do Dragon at any point in time now. We do see Wriggle's Lantern that has been completed onto Zhao, Brutalizer up onto Kha'Zix. And it looks like we are just going to go back to a bit of a farm off, as Olaf really wants that big creep wave up top. And as soon as he goes for that creep wave, Gambit Gaming can easily swing by and pick up Dragon, as Future Makers really need Olaf to just sit there and soak up that massive amount of damage he can soak up. Looks like he will be going for a Kindle Gem, possibly into a Warmongs, as you see most Olafs do. Jayce has picked up a Brutalizer, in addition to another Longsword, likely going to go into a Bloodthirster. And there's Gambit Gaming immediately rotating over to Dragon. Nunu not really wanting contested, as he does see all 5 of them there with that nicely placed ward. And that will mean Gambit Gaming is up by about 1,000 now, thanks to that Dragon. And they're looking to make a little bit of a comeback here, as they were down from that early tower, but they have now taken the lead, thanks to that additional kill and Dragon. The question is, will they be able to maintain this? And I do not know. That's why they play these games. Kha'Zix is doing a very good job of farming. And it looks like we do see Future Makers grouping up, looking to go pressure this mid tower, or possibly even blue buff, because I do think they could easily steal blue buff away when it respawns in a few moments. The thing is, Gambit Gaming is wisely just defending from long distance with Sona and Kha'Zix, just using their massive AoE abilities to really kill the creep waves before they get there. This gives Renekton a lot of space to farm, and Ezreal a lot of space to farm, as Ezreal is now the top farmer in the game, as Zhao just picked up a Bloodthirster. We see a Sightstone and a Boots picked up on the Sonya. Ruby Sightstone and likely a Philosopher's Stone up next for Nunu. Sivir about to pick up the Bloodthirster, as we do see a Sunfire Cape likely on Shen. Olaf doing some good damage to Renekton, but Renekton's winning these trades thanks to the fact he's had minions to hit with his Call the Meek. And when he has minions to hit, he heals just a bit more life from it. That means he is in good shape. But that extra tower hit's going to really hurt Renekton, but Olaf is in bad shape. He does have to pop the Ghost. It looks like we do have Jayce coming up top, and Shen here as well, as Shen takes a lot of damage. And will Shen be able to get away in time? Nice slow by Jayce. And it is just not enough, as Shen is still just barely alive. Jayce will go down as well, except he does get to flash over at the last second. Sona right up from behind. But Sona does throw out the ultimate Ezreal ult as well, and Sona finishes off the kill. Nunu tries to throw his ult out, but it is not going to be enough damage. And Gambit Gaming has really put their stuff together this game, and it's making a nice showing there, catching out several people in Future Makers when they thought they had an advantage, and are really doing a great job of snowballing this game away. They will be able to steal blue buff or red buff as well. They could go for blue as well if they feel like it, but I don't think they will at this point. They're just going to settle for probably pushing mid tower, as mid tower is fairly open. Ezreal is going to go run up there and take blue buff, assuming Sivir doesn't catch on, but I don't think she's going to. She needs to push all those minions away from that tower. And Gambit Gaming is doing a great job here of roaming around the map and picking off those few kills that they found. They've done an excellent job, and it's really helped them take a fairly solid gold lead at this point of about 3,000 gold. Looks Looks like we do have Sunfire Cape now completed onto Renekton. And this Renekton pick is now working out for him. They had a Renekton game earlier where it just did not work. But this game, it is doing a good job, and he should be tanky enough to run in there and keep Sivir from just sitting there and attacking. Force her to move around the entire fight and not get as many auto attacks off. Looks like Nunu and Sivir are going to be pushing mid lane while Shen's split pushes top. But I'm not sure how effective they're going to be, as the wave clear ability of Sona is pretty good, and Renekton can just jump in and jump out. So I don't see either team really wanting to commit to a fight at this point, especially when you don't know where the rest of the enemy team is. Ezreal is team bottom, but Kha'Zix is going to run up here and really be able to get a range of Nunu. I don't think so, as both teams are vying for this mid lane, and I don't see either team wanting to back down from it. The score is 4-1 with approximately a 3,000 gold lead for Gambit Gaming, as we do see them grouping up as 4 in mid lane. Renekton force top, as Shen is continuing to split push Sivir, running down bottom to push out that lane. But the question is, will she be able to get back in time to actually defend this tower? And I think she will, but the tower will take a lot of damage in the process. Nunu very low from all this. He does have a good roll on Jayce, and they could engage if they want. Olaf pops the Ragnarok, as Shen does try and come in. Nice ultimate from Sona, hits too, as Olaf is very low. He's just not tanking enough to stay in these fights. And that's a 4v5, and it's basically an even trade, with neither side getting any real advantage. You have a bit of a hiccup in the game, but everything's back to normal. No kills are taken, but everyone from MYM Makers is very low. And Gambit Gaming is in a lot of control right now, as they can easily push another tower, and MYM Makers is in not a very good position. I'm just not sure what they can do at this point. They had a fairly good fight there, but they just didn't have the damage to really do anything. They couldn't get on that back line, and Ezreal just kind of kited him around. Kha'Zix threw out his big combo, then jumped away. And they just didn't have enough damage to really finish anyone off. Beautiful Sona in that last fight as well. Really prevented Sivir from doing that damage. And the question is, can Sivir get enough damage? I'm not sure she can at this point, as we are going to see the armor stack come in from both sides, as there's not a lot of ability power damage on either side. And it looks like Dragon will be spawning in just a few moments. Or there's going to be a really big gank bottom, and I think a really big gank is likely to occur. But it will be spotted out as Renekton is forced the entire team back. There's Dragon spawning. And it looks like it will be completely free to Gambit Gaming. No one from MYM Makers is even close to it at this point, and it's extended our lead to approximately 6,000 gold. And an incredibly strong looking Gambit Gaming right now. They've really come back into it. Sivir getting very low as Kha'Zix jumps in, Olaf popping his ultimate, but it looks like he'll be okay. Though that's a lot of wasted summer spells, but no, Ezreal finishes off Sivir with the ultimate. And that means, looks like Gambit Gaming is going to go for Baron at this point. They're strong enough to. They have enough damage. And I think as long as they trade aggro pretty well, they will be fine. Sona has enough healing power to keep them all in good shape. Looks like Shen's going to throw a ward and spot them out. But there is an Oracle's on Renekton, and Ezreal is here as well, just looking to zone people. Shen will try and jump over the wall and pick up Baron, but I don't think he's actually going to be in range to do so, as he is slowed down. Sona ult does come across, and who will get it? It is very low. Both smites haven't gone out, and it looks like Gambit Gaming does pick it up. Despite both smites missing, Olaf in a lot of trouble moves and does not have his ultimate. Though Nunu is going to basically sacrifice himself for him, but the exhaust keeps Renekton at bay. But Gambit Gaming picks up Baron and an additional kill, and their lead is just growing. The lead has skyrocketed up to about 8,000 gold at this point, and I'm really not sure what MYM Makers can do right now. They just are not letting this game, Gambit Gaming is just not letting this game go late enough for MYM Makers to really maximize their potential. Olaf has just not gotten the farm he needs to, and he is not a tanky force If he were tanky, they might have a chance, because they could burn a lot of damage on Olaf before killing him, but he's just not this game. He's staying at 20 minutes, and he has not completed his Warmongs or another item. Looks like several towers are going down, as the bottom tower does fall to minions from the blue side. And we do have, there's another stalemate up top. Kha'Zix and Sona are going to split push mid lane. And it's really going to be awkward when they can split push like this on you. You can't really engage on it, because they just do a little too much damage. Looks like there goes the first inhibitor turn of the game. And we are likely to see an engagement here as Zhao does jump in, forces several flashes as he does jump back himself. And it looks like they are going to have Ezreal taken down by Sona and Nunu. Or not Sivir and Nunu. But the problem is they're both very low and out of position. So Gambit is just going to capitalize and say, hey, we're going to take your tower. I don't think they care that much about Ezreal when they're getting towers like this. The problem is Sivir is still behind and a good health. So I don't think that's such the wise idea to try and actually fight here, as they are fairly healthy on Kha'Zix and Zhao, and they have the burst potential to really take Sivir out of her comfort zone, and possibly the fight herself. It's like Gambit Gaming is just going to go back, as we got Renekton picking up the Sunfire Cape and Warmongs, and he's really recovered from that kind of poor start. Looks like Ezreal has completed double Bloodthirsters, looking to really just sustain himself in all these fights. He doesn't have to do a whole lot of damage, because Renekton does a moderate amount, Zhao does a moderate amount, and Kha'Zix does a lot. He can just go for the tanky build and hope to just survive these fights. Kha'Zix with the Bloodthirster as well. Looks like Kindle Gem into likely Shirley's Reverie, possibly even a Zeke's Herald soon on her. Olaf very close to that Warmongs, but just not enough. Shen has completed Sunfire Cape, likely going to go for an Aegis of the Legion next. We do have Jayce picking up the Brutalizer and Vampiric Scepter, soon to have that Bloodthirster as well. As Sivir has completed the Bloodthirster and Zeal. Sona with the Ruby Sightstone and Boots Mobility. Looks like Gambit Gaming is just going to push on this inhibitor, as the inhibitor does not stand much of a chance at this point in time. It goes down for free, and looks like the top one is the next target for Gambit Gaming. And will they actually go in here and fight it? Meet Your Makers might actually have to at this point. They lose two inhibitors this early, it's basically game over, and they aren't even going to contest it. They're just going to try and poke and fight them with this third one. But that's a big win for Gambit Gaming, and they should have this match in the bag at this point, as there is just no reason to give up two inhibitors for nothing if you think you can actually win this game. Looks like they are just going to rotate around and kill these towers, the Baron buff giving them enough regeneration, in addition to the Sona healing. The Gambit Gaming is in a great spot, and they should be able to push this top one as well. Looks like they are just going to clear out the minions and wait a few moments. There's a big stack of minions for Gambit Gaming that should be up here in a few moments. And someone will eventually have to go top. Kha'Zix says jump in and try and deal some damage and start a fight, but just not able to. As Shen throws out his smite on a minion, realizing he's not going to have another chance in the jungle at this point. His team's basically going to be stuck at base. Looks like we are just going to see a bit of a poke fest here, as Zhao is looking to snowball top lane. And with all these minions here, there is going to be a fight breaking out. Zhao does get fairly low, but his Sona ultimate is beautiful and hits 3, and really stops the fight from happening. But there's a lot of damage going out onto Ezreal, though he is able to heal it up thanks to double Bloodthirsters. Tower in the mid lane going very low. But here is the big minion wave which Renekton was looking for. As Renekton does jump in onto Shen, and the tower goes down. Another inhibitor tower down, as that inhibitor is very naked. The last inhibitor of the game for Nature Makers. And Gambit Gaming really snowballing themselves to victory. They just need to back up at this point, grab that last set of items, and they should be able to finish off this push rather quickly. Not sure we're going to see any new and exciting items. Kha'Zix has picked up his MYM. and I'm not sure how far it is along. I think it's pretty far at this point, but I'm not sure it's going to actually turn into MYM. I don't think he needs MYM at this point, and no other big items coming out. Sivir getting closer and closer to that Phantom Dancer, which I don't think she's going to get it in time, as it looks like Gambit Gaming is looking to just group up and push for the win at this point. There's no reason for them to stall any longer. They are just way too strong. And there's the last inhibitor of the game as Renekton runs up to it, and they're going to basically lose it for free, as they have to defend their Nexus from these several super minions that were running in, and they don't have any real good way of dealing with them at this point. Looks like Zhao will be caught out and taken very low, but not dead at this point, as Nunu is taken low as well. And every single one from Gambit Gaming is low, but not low enough, as Shen does taunt through and is taken very low as well and taken down. Renekton just barely living that fight with about 200 to 300 health left, and Jayce is still not done here, but the last Nexus tower will go down, and with all those super minions roaming around, it's going to be very hard. Though Jayce and Shen are down, just Zhao is down for Gambit Gaming, as we will look to see Olaf being taken down here, and Renekton is just barely alive. Sivir going for another kill, as she does pick up the kill on Sona, but that is good game. Gambit Gaming doing a great job of stabilizing after losing that early top tower.
Thank you for watching Games Cast by PanderNyrl. For more commented games, please visit my YouTube and stream channels.